Well, the Celtics certainly felt Draymond Green in Game 2. Welcome into our Bella Early Edition. Phil Perry filling in for Trenny, Tom Giles alongside. And we have Eddie House here with us right now. Eddie, you were part of that championship team in 2008. Had you all faced Draymond Green back then, how would that team have responded to his antics?
Well, that team was a little. That 08 team was different, man. It was. We definitely would have responded, and we all wanted to smoke. So it wasn't like a couple guys out there that maybe could be enforcers or guys that wanted to get under your skin and start talking. I think we had a team full of them. I mean, even down to Scal. Scal talk. You guys know Scal. Scal talks it too. So it was a team like that. I think we'd have enjoyed it. But we would have actually seen that. Is it just him? Is he by himself like that? Or is the whole team with it like our whole team was?
So then the question becomes for Game 3 and the rest of the series, how should the Celtics respond? Because you heard Ime Udoka talking about, it kind of depends guy to guy, just do whatever you're comfortable with. How do you think the team will respond, and how should they?
Well, that's perfect advice. If that's not your makeup, don't fall into that, because now you're out of your game, and now he's winning on both fronts. He has you out your game. He has everybody else looking at what you are doing, and now all of a sudden you are doing something. You're playing into his hands. But if you are about that life, if that is what you like to do, then I think you engage, and you got to fight the fire with fire. Like Draymond said it best, you got to meet force with force. And that's just all they got to do. They got to come out and play harder. They just didn't match the intensity or the physicality of the Golden State Warriors. And a lot of those turnovers were unforced. But again, just off the jump ball, there was a tone set by Draymond when he wrapped up, when they got the jump ball with Al Horford. And you can understand that this was the type of game it was going to be. It was going to be a mucked up game. It was going to be a physical game. And you were going to have to match that or exceed it if you were planning on winning Game 2. And the Celtics just didn't do it. So now you can't be surprised about how physical it's going to be, what the refs are going to let go. I think you got to go out there and just focus on what you do best. And if it is engaging in him, if you can engage in him and still stay within yourself and do your job, then that's fine. But if it takes you out of what you really need to be doing, remember the main thing is always the main thing, and that's doing your job and trying to help your team win. So if you start engaging with him and it takes you out of that, then he won. But if you can do that, and, bullies bullies get bullied. Bullies don't like to get bullied. So if you show the bully and stand up to the bully and punch the bully in the mouth 9 times out of 10, that bully's going the other way. Actually, 10 times out of 10, because I don't want to think Draymond is that one bully that can get punched and come back.
Well, here's the thing, though, Eddie, and this is where I stand on Draymond. I don't think that's who the Celtics are. I don't know which Celtic among the guys that are on this roster is the one to stand up to that bully and bully him back. I guess maybe it could be Marcus Smart. Maybe it could be Grant Williams. We saw Al Horford respond when he got pissed off, when he went at it with Giannis briefly in that Milwaukee series. But I just don't think that's their personality. I would rather them channel their energy into, say, I don't know, not turning the ball over or scoring inside the arc. Like, if there was a Celtic to answer the bell when it comes to the Draymond stuff, who would that be to you? Who should it be?
I don't know. That's a question to ask them, because, this whole season and all playoffs, I haven't really seen anybody take on that persona of being a guy who dirties the game, who mucks up the game. People talk about Marcus Smart, but he is just he plays hard. So nothing that he's doing is with malicious intent or on borderline dirty, or he doesn't play in that gray area. I think it's just, you got to say, hey, I'm standing here, I'm drawing a line in the sand, and I think we got everybody that checks in, test him one time. You all got one tech to get, and this is not our makeup, but at the same time, he's going to go off the rails. We all know this, and why not test him? At this point, I'm like this. You're in the NBA Finals, and you basically went to their home court, got one win. In Game 2, he was the main cog and the reason why they won Game 2 is because of his physicality and the way he just messed up the game. If it gets under your skin, you have to find a way to channel that energy and say, okay, well, I'm going to play my game and tune him out. Very similar to a fan that's always chirping in your ear. You just tune him out. But if you're a guy that likes to engage with him again if you can still handle your business on the court and take care of your job. But I don't see one particular guy. I think everybody got to stand up to him. Because it wasn't one guy that he was going after. It was Tatum. It was Smart. It was Brown. It was Horford. It was Grant Williams. So one of y'all just one step up and be like, okay, enough is enough. I ain't having it.
Yeah, I want to see Grant Williams. I wouldn't mind seeing Grant Williams kind of step up into that, especially considering his role in this series.
Well, sticking with this Draymond theme, we had a very strong reaction from our friend Cedric Maxwell when he saw what Draymond brought to the table in Game 2. Here's what Max had to say on CLNS Media, and then we're going to hear Draymond's response today.
That Draymond Green was doing during the 80s, he got knocked the out.
I saw what Cedric Maxwell said. And, you know, one thing that baffles me about the 80s or the 90s or whatever you want to call when basketball was so much more physical is some of the guys that be talking weren't the guys that was punching people. You know, like they act like, you know, guys was just walking around the court like I'm hitting this guy in the nose. There were a few guys back then that would lay you out, that would knock you out, that would foul you and get thrown out the game. Bill Laimbeer, Rick Mahorn. But everybody running around acting like they were that. Y'all were getting bullied. And so it baffles me when every guy, just because they played in the 80s, just because they played in the 90s, is like, man, if you played in our day, you get knocked out. Like, no, not really, because it wouldn't be you. So, okay, you saying Rick Mahorn would have knocked me out. Rick Mahorn probably knocks you out. Like, Bill Laimbeer probably lays you out. You know, we got YouTube, and you can pull up them highlights, and they ain't got no YouTube fights. Like, you see them on the court getting bullied, but they talking about you and got punched in the face. These people be killing me. Y'all enjoy y'all day.
Thanks a lot, Draymond.
Wow.
All right, so you got Michigan guy Draymond Green there really focusing on those bad boy Pistons, but it was more than that, right, Eddie? I mean, is he right, though? Is it all hype? Were the 80s and 90s really tougher than the game is today, or not so much?
Oh, no, it was much more physical. There's no doubt about it. Now, we talk about punching guys in the face and guys getting in fights. The fights happen. We've all seen them. We've seen multiple fights happen back in the 80s and even in the 90s. I mean, we've seen fights all the time, but I mean, the physicality like that's more than likely a lot of times that wasn't getting you thrown out the game back then. That would get you a tech, but all these fouls were commonplace. They were commonplace back then. It was just the way that they played, the way that they allowed the game to go, and that was the reason for the rule changes. I mean, you can't have somebody doing that to the star right there. That's Larry Bird. You should not have anybody climbing on the top of his back and slamming him and throwing him. Look, I mean, right there, that's a double punch by the Chief right there. I mean, and then look at Zoe. I mean, so it was much more. Look at that by Alton Elizabeth. It was much more physical, and because. And I'm glad they changed the rules. You can't allow guys to go up in the air, be helpless and defenseless and fall on their back. And, I mean, it's a lot of money invested in these guys nowadays. But was it more physical? Yes, it definitely was. Is this game not physical? Yes, it's physical. It's not as physical because they don't allow you to get away with as much as they did in the 80s. But the 80s and 90s era was roughnecks out there.
All right.